Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome, everyone, joining this webinar on how to host an online meeting in an effective manner, in specific using the GoToMeeting program that we acquired from A16. Tonight, Glenn and I will be speaking, and Barry will be one of our coordinator and monitoring the webinar on our behalf. Now, before we start, just some general information for all the participants in this webinar. We are recording this. And along the way that you will have opportunities to ask questions, or you can, during the webinar, you can type in your questions at the chat box. We will monitor it, and at a certain point in time of the session, we'll try to answer your question accordingly. And as I mentioned before, you can raise your hand for questions and comments by clicking on the hand icon. And if you click on it, it will turn from green to red. That means your hand is raised. And if you click on it again, then it will turn it back to green, saying that your hand is down. So that's one way to connect with us. And along the way, we will ask you for some input. We call it polls. And then you have the opportunity of participating and giving us some input from your side. So why don't we start with a poll to begin with now by telling us which region are you from? Region 18, region 33, 45, 52, or if you are from outside of A16. Okay, if you see the poll showing up on your screen, then you can click on your response accordingly. So you can see that 2/3 of you have responded already, and I'm going to give you another maybe 10 seconds. Okay, now let's close the poll now over here, and I'll share the result with you. So tonight we have 40% of you coming from region 18, 12 from 33, 19% from 45, 26% from 52, and 2% from outside of A16. Welcome to those who are coming from outside of A16, joining us tonight. Now, going back to our agenda for tonight. I will be speaking first about the booking procedure on the use of the GoToMeeting, the license that we acquired for A16. And then I will show you how to start and run your booked meeting. And Glenn will come in to talk to you regarding some information and tips and hints on how to make your online meeting an effective experience for all. And then we have a little item here for you to ask questions. And hopefully we can provide you as much information as possible. So that will be the agenda for tonight. And hopefully by the end of the session, you will be able to use the A16 GoToMeeting to host your online meetings. Now, for those who are coming from outside of A16, Multiple District A has a GoToMeeting setup. So you can, similarly, you can use the MDA GoToMeeting to host your online meetings if you want to. And the other objective that we want to achieve is by the end of the session, we hope that you'll be able to have a good understanding on how to create and provide an effective experience to your participants in your online meetings.
Glenn, Tim, it's Barry.
Yes.
You still have the poll up. That's what I was seeing.
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go.
Okay. Now, what is GoToMeeting? GoToMeeting is a tool for us to host online meetings or online seminar, something like tonight. And A16 has just acquired a license for all the clubs to use in the district. So basically, the GoToMeeting facility is like a meeting room. And it can hold one meeting at a time. So you need to book your meetings by date, time, and duration. And you can join the meetings via multiple platforms using your desktop, personal computer, your laptop, even your tablet, iPad, or cell phone, or even simply calling from a phone. Of course, when you call in from a phone, then you won't get the video. Okay, now let's try another poll here. Have you hosted an online meeting or a webinar before? So
We have a question. What is the difference between a GoToMeeting and a GoToWebinar?
a GoToMeeting, basically you can have more interaction and it's for a smaller group. For GoToWebinar, it's designed for information to be passed on to a larger group.
Training.
And like training, like something like tonight. And the interaction, I would say, would be a little bit limited comparing to GoToMeeting, because in GoToMeeting, you can see all the audio and video of all the participants. But in a webinar, typically, you won't be seeing the webinar, the video of all the participants. Okay, now let's launch this poll for some of your feedback on your current experience. Have you hosted an online meeting or a webinar? It doesn't have to be GoToMeeting, but any online meeting or a webinar before. So I can see the results coming in. I have about 40%, 50% responded. Okay, so I guess I have most of the responses came in already. So let's close the poll. And it's showing about 30% of you are saying that you have hosted an online meetings before, which is good. And 4% saying that you have hosted a webinar before. And the majority of you are just attended as participants before. So yeah, we have some experienced participants tonight here as well. Okay, so I need to hide this poll result. Okay, now let's get back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay.
Lion Tim, there was a question from Lion Bhupender.
Yes.
Lion Bhupender, you can only see the presenter in this instance. In a GoToWebinar, you can only see the presenter on this. You cannot see everybody.
You can see other people's video or web camera active when you are hosting a GoToMeeting, but not a GoToWebinar. Okay, so in terms of the A16 GoToMeeting license, it's available now. Actually, I'm using it tonight to deliver this webinar. And any Lions in the district can book to use the GoToMeeting facility. Now we have created a booking calendar on the A16 website. And if you go to the A16 website, which is at lions16family.org, and go to menu and under events and projects, you will find the calendar there. And the calendar will show you what time slot has been booked by which club. So if you want to host a meeting using the A16 GoToMeeting facility, you go to this calendar and you check on your desired time and date, whether it is available. Now, the same thing or similar process will apply to those Lions who are outside of A16. If you want to book to use the multiple district A GoToMeeting facility, you go to the MDA Lions website, and there's a calendar showing the booking status. And again, you can find the time slot that you want to host your meeting and see whether that time slot is available. And for us, if the time slot is available, then you send an email to me and I will set up the meeting for you. But when you send an email to me, make sure that you let me know what date you want to have your meeting, what time, and for how long. And for the MDA facilities, you will have to send an email to Council Secretary David Mills to book it. And then in the A16 booking procedure, I will set up the meeting for you based on your requested date, time, and duration, and I will send you an email with the detailed information. And then you can use that piece of information to share it with those who want to invite into your meeting. Okay, now let's go to look at the booking calendar at this point in time. Now to switch the program to show you the A16 district website. So when you type in lionsa16family.org, it will take you to this homepage, the A16 website. Now you go down to menu. If you follow my pointer here, go down to menu and then look at events and projects over here. Then you will see the GoToMeeting calendar, which is a newly set up elements of the website. And you click on it. It will take you to the Lions A16 GoToMeeting calendar. And here you will find the calendar here showing the time slots that have been booked. So if you look at tonight, May 4th, 7 o'clock, we are hosting this webinar. For tomorrow morning, we have 3 bookings. Tomorrow morning at 9 and 10 and 6:30, so 3 bookings. So when you try to arrange your online meeting using the A16 GoToMeeting facilities, come to this calendar first to check on the availability of the time that you want to do it. All right. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. So as I said, when you send in your request with the time, date, and duration, and I will set up the meeting for you, and I will send you with an email with all the details, information about your meeting. So I'm using my test meeting as an example, which I set up for tomorrow morning at 9:30 to 10 o'clock. And you see that each meeting is identified by its access code. And I would suggest that you can cut and paste this piece of information in your email, or you can forward that email to those who want to invite into your meeting. Okay, that's the booking portion of the process. Now, after you have booked your meeting, say, like using my example, and I book it for tomorrow morning at 9:30. So come tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So I want to start my meeting. Then you have to start it as an organizer because you are the host of the meeting. You are not participating in the meeting. So as an organizer, you have to go into the GoToMeeting site. You start your internet browser, you type in the GoToMeeting site, and it will take you into this panel, which is the GoToMeeting sign on page. Sorry, I should go back to this one. And over here, then you click on the sign in. And when you click on sign in, it will take you to the sign in panel. It will ask you to input the email address. When you book the meeting, I will send you the login information, including the email address and a password. So you will use that email address and the password to log in. So over here, you type in the user ID, and the user ID is always da.dawson@life.ca, because that is Governor Debbie's email address, and she used this email address to register as the owner of the license. So you type in this user ID, and I want to bring your attention to the little panel down here. It says, keep me signed in, and it has a check mark there. Now, I would suggest if you click on this check mark, then the check mark will disappear. I would suggest you do that before you sign in, because the program, the GoToMeeting programs, is set up this way that it will assume that whoever is logging in will continue logging in. The problem with that is, say, if you finish using it and the next time you want to come in, the system will memorize that, oh, you are logging into this particular account. Like if you are just using one account, like da.dawson@life.ca, that may not be a big problem to you. But if you are using, like, for example, more than one account, like you use the A16 account and you may be using the multiple district A account at times, and having this keep me signed in check-in sometimes may lead you to the wrong system. So my suggestion is when you log in to the A16 GoToMeeting account, type in da.dawson@life.ca and uncheck this keep me signed in button. So when you hit enter, it will take you to the next panel for you to type in the password. As I said, when I forward you the meeting information, you will have the login password provided to you. So you type in the password, and it will take you to the GoToMeeting Hub page. Now over here, you can see two columns. On the left-hand side, it shows all the meetings that have been scheduled. And on the right-hand side, you see the specific meeting is displayed. So when you click on any one of those meetings on the left-hand column, then the details will show up on the right-hand side column. So for me, I have scheduled a meeting at 9:30 in the morning for May 5th. So I would click on this meeting, and the details information will be displayed on the right-hand column. So on the left-hand column, then you locate your meetings. If you don't see it, there's a scroll down button for you to scroll down. And for my example, I'm showing the 9:30 test meeting. Okay, so you click on it, and the details will be shown on the right-hand side. And when the meeting time comes, then like assuming this is May 5th, Tuesday morning at 9:30, so I will start my meeting. So I would click on the start button on the right-hand side. And that will take me to the main panel of the GoToMeeting. Now, in real life, you won't see all these buttons here, but I'm going to show you what functions that you will be able to use in running your online meeting. Now, let's go through it one by one. Number one is, if you click on the button here, it says record. You can record your meeting. So when you click on it, the dot will turn red, so indicating to you that you are recording your meeting. And if you plan to record your meeting, it's always nice to let the participant know that you are recording it. And again, if you click on it again, it will turn from red to white again, meaning that the recording has stopped. And if you go to button number 2 here, then you see this drop-down arrow. So when you click on one of these drop-down arrows, it will show you a few options to look at the video camera. There was a question that whether you can see the participants' video in GoToMeeting. Yes, you can, but not in GoToWebinar. And this GoToMeeting panel will allow you, if you click on this button, it will allow you the option of seeing everybody's video camera, or you just want to see the video camera of the person who is speaking at the moment, or you can hide anyone, or you can only see those who have an active camera on. And again, if you have a participant calling into a GoToMeeting, if the participant doesn't have a web camera, so for those who have participated in a meeting, you may recall that you see somebody with a blank screen and just the initial. Like if for myself, if I call in now, if I don't have my webcam here, then you may see DD, which stands for Debbie Dawson. So I was Debbie Dawson there. So this is an option for you to choose on how many video cameras that you want to see for the participants. All right, now let's go to button number 3. And if you click on this little icon with 2 people here, and you will be able to see the people attending your meeting. Now, for this example, I was the only participant. I was the host and I was the participant. So you see only 1. But GoToMeeting can allow you to hold a meeting for up to 250 participants. And when you click on this icon, it will show you the list of people attending, and then you know that who are on your meeting. And button number 4 is a chat icon. So when you click on this icon, it will show you a box for you to chat with the participants in your meeting. Now, as an organizer, you have the option of chatting with everybody, or you have the option of just chatting with one single individual participating in your meeting. So these are the 2 options available to you. And button number 5 is the icon for you to share your screen. When you click on this icon, that whatever is sharing on your computer screen will be shared with everyone participating in the meeting. Just like now, I'm using my PowerPoint slideshow, and I share the screen for everybody. Button number 6 over here. As an organizer, you can unmute everybody and you can mute everybody. It will be up to you whether you want to mute everybody to begin with. And if you are, then you may want to announce it to the participants so that they know that they are all muted by you. And in case if they want to ask a question or if they want to make a comment, then they know that they have to notify you to unmute them. And also, when you see the list of participants over here, and against every name, there is a drop-down arrow. So if you look at, like on this item, Debbie Dawson, which was me, and over the drop-down arrow, you can click on it, and then you can look at what are the status of that individual, whether the hand is being raised or he has a question, or you want to even, sometimes you may want to change a participant to be a presenter, then you can do it over here. Because when you are holding a club meeting, for example, and you may want to have a committee chairperson to present some information to the meeting, then you can pass the screen sharing function to that individual and make the individual the presenter for the meeting, for that part of the meeting. So these are functions available for you as the organizer for the GoToMeeting. And of course, at the end of the meeting, then you go to button number 7 here, and you click on this icon with the telephone handset, and click on it saying that, oh, I'm done with the meeting, I'm leaving it, I'm finishing the meeting for everybody. So these are some of the basic functions available to an organizer when you host your online meeting using GoToMeeting. So after you're done, then just a reminder, make sure that this window typically will still be open in one of your browser windows. So make sure that you go back to this and click on the little arrow over here, which will show you the two options, My Profile or Sign Out. And what I'm asking you to do is to sign out when you are done. When you click the Sign Out option, it will take you back to this login panel. So my suggestion is after you finish the meeting as an organizer, sign out, make sure that you see this panel again before you close your browser. So that would make your session very clean. You sign in, you sign out, you finish. Okay. All right. That's so much about the booking of the program, the use of GoToMeeting, and how to start and how to run the meeting. Okay. So I'm going to pass the floor to our District Governor-elect, Glenn Conduit, to continue to talk to you about making your online meeting an effective experience for your participants. Glenn, over to you.
Thank you, Lion Tim. Well done. And for those of you that are going, geez, I'm not going to remember all of this. Remember that this is being recorded and we're going to post this on the district website, so you have a chance to go back and look at it again as your leisure. All I want to do now is spend the next few minutes just talking about how to make your meeting an effective meeting. The next slide, please, Tim. So hosting an effective GoToMeeting session is very much similar to hosting a face-to-face session, but it's online. So sometimes it feels different, and sometimes we forget some of the things we want to do. Next one, Tim. So, and this is going to sound really patently obvious, so I apologize for that. But it's important that you think about why you're having your meeting. Do you want to share information with a group? Do you want to have discussion with a group? If you have this in mind when you set it up, how you format your meeting will be important. For example, if you're just going to be sharing information to the group, making announcements more or less, then you may want to have everyone on mute. Otherwise, you might get a lot of feedback back and forth. On the other hand, if you're planning on having a lot of discussion and participation, make sure you establish the rules and the guidelines for how to do that when you start your meeting. Once you've done this a few times and your club members are used to it, you won't need to do this as often. But the first few times through, it's important that you have that protocol. Otherwise, you have people speaking over other people or trying to speak at the same time. So that's an important consideration why you're holding the meeting. Tim? The next one, who's coming? The attendees. Again, knowing who they are and their experience in the meeting and the process will be beneficial for you to determine how you're going to structure the meeting for them and how often they're going to be. The other thing is the meeting going to be relevant to them? Is it going to have meaning? Sometimes we invite people to a meeting, but it's not about them or for them, and they're going to be going like, well, why am I here? So make sure you have that thought before. The planning before you have your meeting is probably more important than what you do during the meeting. Tim, next one, please. This one is level of participation, and it goes back to the purpose in a sense. How active do you want your members to be? The rule of thumb is the more active, the more protocol or guidelines you need to have in place. So if you want them to be active in the meeting, you need to make sure you plan for that. Am I going to mute everybody? If I do mute everybody, that means it's a two-step process for them to speak. One, you have to unmute them individually, and secondly, they have to unmute themselves. We find often even on our NAMI webinars where people have been experienced and been doing this for almost a year now, we still have people who try to talk even though the host has unmuted them. They haven't unmuted themselves. So these little things can trip you up that don't happen in a face-to-face because clearly people in a normal meeting aren't muted. Next slide, please, Tim. Again, before the meeting, think about your date, time and the duration of your meeting. How long is it going to run? A lot of clubs are going to want to hold their meetings at the same time that they always hold regular club meetings, and this is problematic. If you've ever looked at the visitation calendar for the district governor, you can see how tricky that is to schedule, because Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings are really popular meeting dates in District A16. So you may want to take a look at considering a different time for your meeting, or have a backup time when you go to the calendar to book that. Again, the duration, remember, 2 hours is a long online meeting, so you don't want to go much past that. And as well, in order to make sure we have lots of opportunity for using the application, we don't want our meetings to run too long. So think about somewhere between an hour to 2 hours for the length of your meeting. In terms of booking the meeting, Tim's talked about that in great detail, but you need to book the meeting. It needs to be there. Check the calendar before you call Tim to see if that date and time is available. Don't make him go and look. You remember, he's doing this for 52 clubs, but plus those of us on the executive who are using it. So have a look at the calendar, see that your time is open, then give Tim a call and say, Line Tim, I'd like to book at this particular time. The last thing is the invitation piece. You're going to send an invitation out to all the people you want to attend your meeting. The invitation will include the login information that our GLT Line Tim will forward to you, plus any guidelines or information you want the attendees to have. And that would include the agenda for the meeting. It's always a good idea to send out the agenda with the invitation. Depending on your club, and you know your clubs better than I do, you may want to send them a reminder shortly before the meeting. Next slide, please, Tim. Finally, agenda. I talked about that for a second, and it says yours and theirs. The agenda that you send out should be a brief overview of the topics intended to be covered during the meeting. It helps people plan for the meeting and be prepared, and to know where the meeting's going. However, and we've said this in our training with club presidents and certainly with district officers, it's useful to have your own agenda that's much more detailed. You're going to have specific times and specific points that you want to talk about. What's happening, you're doing what I'm doing right now. You're looking at a screen, you're seeing yourself, you're talking. It's easy to get distracted. You need to have a rather fulsome and complete agenda that you can glance to and say, oh, this is where I need to be next, or I've talked too long at this point. It's very easy to get carried away on an online meeting. Tim, please. Again, time. Okay, now we're during the meeting. Once more. Perfect. Starting the meeting. I would suggest strongly that you go online about 10 minutes before the scheduled start time. You'll always have those keen, eager folks. Line Eleanor is one of those. I've noticed at our GoToMeetings who will log on a little bit before the time. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. It's a good practice. But if you're there, you can greet them as they come in and be prepared to welcome them, make them feel that unforgiving moment, if you will, of time as you're talking to them. When you start the meeting, make sure it starts on time. Give people a 2 or 3 minute warning and say, this meeting is going to start at 7 o'clock. It's about 2 or 3 minutes to. We're going to start at 7 o'clock. That gives people a chance to go, oops, I want to grab a glass of water. I need a quick trip to the bathroom that I didn't think I was going to need. Allow all those things like you would during a normal meeting. Tim? Managing the meeting. And this is the critical part, is you're the host of the meeting. You control the speaking order. Make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. If someone seems to be dominating the meeting, point to someone else and ask them to speak. If you've noticed a member or two who haven't spoken, ask them for their comments or their input. Worst case scenario, if you have someone who just keeps interrupting, you have the power to mute. So you can always mute that person and take them off as they go through. But managing the meeting, keeping it on time, keeping it on schedule, being aware of where you are and your timelines, because you don't want to go past time. As Lion Tim has indicated, on some days we will have a number of different meetings starting, one more or less right after the other. If you go over time, that will mess up the next person. So make sure that about 5 minutes before your ending time, You're bringing conclusion to the meeting. You're telling people that now it's we've got 5 minutes left. We're going to bring closure. Here's the items we've covered. Just kind of bring a summary to that meeting, but make sure, please, that you end on time. Tim? There's going to be a manual, a much more fulsome manual that I've talked about that will be posted online with a checklist for before, during, and after the meeting, giving you some guidelines for that. I didn't go in tonight because it's pretty detailed, but it's there for your reference. Please make use of it. It'll be located on the District A16 website along with the GoToMeeting material. Some important pieces. 1, clubs can only book 1 session at a time. No block booking. First come is not always going to be first served. You can't go in, for example, as the North Newmarket Lions Club and say, we want every other Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Not going to happen. There's too many people who need that. So you can't block book. You also need to understand that you're sharing with 52 clubs. You're also sharing with our GLT, GST, GMT, who are going to be doing training sessions online. You're going to be doing it with the governor's team, and we meet online and have a number of meetings. And committee chairs at some point may wish to book meetings. So a lot of folks want to use this. We need to be patient. We need to be kind. And we need to understand that we may not get the time we want. Please consider, if you can, with your club meeting at a non-standard time. It's not like most of us are going anywhere right now. We're isolating at home in most cases. So check out your club. If you have most people who are going to be home during the day, maybe try a during the day meeting instead of your standard evening. Booking codes. Tim will send you, Line Tim will send you a booking code to log into the meeting. Those are not to be shared. That's private information between District A16 and yourself. So don't do what has happened sometimes in other areas where those codes have gone out and other people who are not supposed to be booking meetings are going ahead and booking. Secondly, just because you have a booking code doesn't mean you can go and book your own meeting. The process must be followed. You have to look at the calendar. You have to go through Lion Tim, our GLT. That way everybody gets served the way they need to be. So all bookings have to go through our district GLT. There are no exceptions for that. Even our governor and our vice district governors, we go through Tim when we need a meeting. Even though we have codes that we could go on and do that, we book through Tim because that's the only way. Your scheduled times must be followed. So whatever it says on the schedule, that's the time of your meeting. Please stick to that. If for some reason you have to cancel a meeting, please let Lion Tim know, because that will open up a block somebody else may be waiting to use. And that's the end of my piece. Oh, no, it's not. I thought I was through. I have a couple more things. I've talked about using less popular time slots, so that's fine. We can go to the next one. Yeah, GLT. So if there's a problem while you're online, the meeting didn't go the way you thought it would, there was a process problem, there was a problem with the application, you need to let Line Tim, our GLT, know, and you should also CC the DG team on those problems so that we're aware of what's going through. But if we don't share the difficulties, then we won't be able to fix it because we can't fix what we don't know about. Good. I thought I was at the end. There we go. So if there's any questions for Lion Tim or myself, and Lion Barry is also online, so he can help with some of these questions, please, now is your chance.
I tried to answer as many questions as I could as we went through. I think there were probably about, I don't know, 15 or 20 questions. So I tried to answer them as best I could. If anybody does have a question, now would be a good time. You can raise your hand or you can type it in the question box and I can ask the question. There were a couple of questions that I do want to address, and Lion Glenn and Lion Tim, perhaps you can help out with this. I got a message from Lion Gail, and she said she has booked a meeting for tomorrow night for Fowler's Corners, and it's showing up as a Kinmount meeting.
Well, maybe I can take that question. I haven't received a request for booking for Fowler's Corners for tomorrow night. So,
and Lion Gail,
Gail,
maybe She
Are
did
you
it through
booking it through
MDA.
MDA? Are you booking it through David Mills? If that's the case, then you may be booking the MDA GoToMeeting. I would suggest you double check that with Lion David Mills if you are booking it through Lion David.
And I just got a question from Lion Sarah Crocker. How do you unmute yourself? Lion Sarah, there should be a button, and I'm not sure what platform you're using in that, but there should be a little microphone with a line through it on your screen. If you click on that, that will unmute you.
Often if you're on a PC platform, on a laptop or a computer, if you take your mouse and put it down near the bottom of your screen, it will highlight a 3 or 4 option menu that Lion Tim referred to in his presentation. One of those options is a microphone that Lion Barry was talking about. If you just click on it, if it's green, it means you can speak. If it's red, it means you can't. And generally in the video, if you're on video, in the corner of the screen, you'll actually see the a little red or green microphone that will let you know who in the meeting is muted and who isn't. There are also a lot of hands up, Lion Tim. I don't know if you want to work through those.
Yeah, I can see 5 here. Let me see who are those.
I
I
just
can
got to
see
clarify.
Kevin Pumphrey has his hands up, and I'm
Yeah.
going to unmute you. Whoop. I cannot unmute you. Well,
Okay,
I don't
his
know.
his question is, why can't I log in using a smartphone?
I'm not hearing you, Barry.
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah,
Barry?
I was getting muted. I thought it was you. I thought you were muting me.
Yeah,
Yes,
I might have pushed the wrong button.
Kevin's question was, why can't
Yes.
I log in using a smartphone as an organizer?
No, it's not allowed for, you can say that is a limitation of the software at this point in time. As an organizer, you can only log in using a laptop or a PC. You can log in using a smartphone, iPad, tablet as a participant only at this point in time.
Okay.
Next question.
Are there hands up that you can see? I can't see
I
the
can see
hands
Brian Gray has his hand up, and Frank Sellers, Larry Franks, and Paul Brand.
For those who have their hands up, I don't see that you have a mic connection. So I don't know why. So I cannot unmute you to come into the webinar. But if you are
Okay,
on your computer,
I have a
you
bunch
can,
of the questions here.
yeah, you can
Okay.
type in your questions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barry.
Okay, so I got a question back or an answer back from Lion Gale, and it was booked through MDA.
Okay,
Another
perfect.
question is, do the participants need the meeting code as well from Lion Bhupender? Yes, they need to have that so that they can access the system. So when you schedule a meeting with Lion Tim, he will send you out the information. You need to forward that to the participants of the meeting.
Remember the email that I mentioned? There's an access code. The access code is the unique code for your meeting. So you have to share the code with all the participants that you want to invite them into your meeting.
Lion Barry, so far most of these questions are covered in the guidebook that will be posted. So I would suggest that as a reference as well. If you have a question, we'll be posting that hopefully tomorrow to the District A16 website. And it's all broken down. There's a very quick list at the top that references you to certain number information sections. So have a look there because most of these questions will be there. Please ask them now as well though, because this way we can get them through.
Okay, I also have another one from Lion Marlene, and she says, is this the only system we are allowed to use for meetings?
No, actually you can use any system for your online meeting. So this is one of the online meeting facilities that A16 has acquired to make it available to all Lions in A16 to use. I know that there are some clubs who are using other facilities like Zoom for their online meeting. And for my club, Angus Glen, we are using WhatsApp. WhatsApp now can hold up to 8 people using your cell phone, and it's free of charge. So there are a number of online meeting facilities available, and it just happened that our district decided to acquire this GoToMeeting license, which is something which is good because we've been using it, and we know how to run it in a sense, like holding meetings, holding webinars. So that's why we've been using the MDA multiple district aid facility for the longest time, up to this unprecedented time that everyone is staying home, and there are a lot more Lions and Lions clubs who wants to go online for meeting. So we found that the booking through the multiple district A license is overwhelming. So that's why our district A16 decided to acquire another license to be used by all Lions in the district. But as I said, bottom line is if you are comfortable with any online facilities and your members are comfortable in using that online facilities, by all means, use them.
I have another question from Lion Michael. How much lead time or notification are you required to give Lion Tim before a proposed meeting time? Don't tell him what I did.
No, to be honest with you, I'm not at the computer all the time. That just like this afternoon, I was in my backyard doing my lawn. So if you want a meeting at like in 2 hours, so sometimes I may not be able to respond. But give me a day, give me 1 day at least, and I should be able to respond to you.
Yeah. May I suggest as a guideline, Tim, just to back up what you're saying, that we need to be considerate that our GLT is doing this for our entire district. So the more lead time you can give. In an emergency, by all means, do what you need to do.
Yep.
But if it's a meeting that you know about 2 weeks down the road, make sure you give Lion Tim lots of lead time on that. It's only courtesy.
Thank you.
I have another question from Lion Frank. How can clubs vote on items at meetings?
Glenn, you want to take that?
Sure. What we do in our club is we just do it verbally. Most of us have cameras, so we can see each other. So our president, Lion Dave, has taken I just said, everyone put your hand up. So you put your hand up and you can quickly look at the screen and see how many are in favor. For those on phones, you can then say, is there anyone on phone who has an objection? And then they're free to speak up. That's the easiest and most simple way to do it. The hand up, as long as people have their cameras, but work on the negative for the other one. Instead of having everyone say yes, 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 if you have 10 phones, that can be tedious all the time. Is there anyone on a phone who has an objection? Please speak now. And that you wait for count to 2 or 3. 1, 2, 3. Hearing no one, I declare the motion carried.
I have another one from Lion Larry, and he says, we are currently muted by an organizer and we cannot unmute. So I'm going to ask Lion Tim if you could unmute Lion Larry Franks. And Lion Larry, you are going to have to unmute yourself as well, and you can ask your question then.
Let me try to locate Larry.
Yeah, you've got him unmuted.
Okay, that's good now. I was just
Okay. Yep.
make sure that that would work okay, and I couldn't unmute myself, so we're okay now.
Yeah, that should be the normal process for webinar or even for GoToMeeting when you have your meeting. And Sometimes you don't want to have a lot of feedback or noise from the background. So you may want to ask the participants to unmute themselves, particularly in a webinar. So you have everyone unmute themselves, or the organizer can unmute everybody. And the same thing for GoToMeeting. As an organizer, you can unmute everybody at the GoToMeeting as well. So when someone wants to come in to ask a question or make a comments like yourself, Larry, then you raise your hand and the organizer will unmute you. So that would be the normal process for bringing in a participant into your meeting.
Okay.
Lion Tim, if I may, and Lion Frank, an interesting point what came up. One of the reasons we mute everyone as an organizer is because of background noise. You may not be aware, I have headphones. Lion Tim is not using headphones. These keeps a lot of, yeah, little tiny, oh, sorry, I couldn't even see
I have
those.
a mini one, yeah.
But some people will just use the speaker and the microphone from their laptop or their computer. Sometimes we're not aware of the background noises. If a phone rings in another room, if Summer starts barking,
Yeah.
all sorts of different things can happen that will disturb the meeting for everyone. So often, as a courtesy, you should always keep yourself muted unless you wish to speak. As the host of the meeting, you may choose if you're hearing a lot of background noise, and sometimes for some reason we get feedback. We get almost like it's in an echo chamber because of the way they may be using a speakerphone. And that can be problematic because the echo comes through to all the participants. So at that point, you may, as a host, want to mute everyone. It's just something that in a normal meeting we don't have to be aware of is the background noise. We're kind of oblivious to the caterer in the kitchen moving the pots around and picking up the dishes. That becomes amplified on an online meeting.
I have a comment from some gentleman named Lion Tom, and he says that there are almost 14,000 Lion Club members and more than 500 clubs in MDA. That's probably one of the reasons why the MDA system is a little bit more busy than the A16 one. And that kind of leads into, I don't know if Lion Tom and Lion Colleen are sitting side by side and thinking of the same thing, because Lion Colleen asked the question, if the GoToMeeting program is being utilized quite a bit, is there consideration for purchasing a second or third license?
Well, it's always an option for GoToMeeting. You can add a second account ID if you want to, but of course you have to pay additional fee for that.
Yeah, that's Lion Tim. That's really interesting. As a governor's team, we struggle at first. Will this be worthwhile? Should we buy a license? We asked ourselves all those questions. To hear that comment is really heartening, to be honest with you. The fact that people are buying in and are interested in doing this. So thank you for that comment, Colleen. That's really neat. It's nice to hear. We expect it to be well used, and we will monitor the use. If it becomes problematic, we'll look at different alternatives, and one of the possibilities for that certainly would be a second license.
Okay. Sure. I have another question from Lion Charles regarding voting. Can people not vote by a poll like you did earlier? And maybe you want to tell them how you have to set that up ahead of time, Tim.
Oh, that is another features made available for hosting webinars. It is only available under GoToWebinar, but not under GoToMeeting. When you are hosting a webinar using GoToWebinar, this is a feature that you can set up polls by asking the participants questions for them to come in and reply on a number of answers that you prepared. So you can use it as a voting tool, but then it won't be available under GoToMeeting. So if you are having a club meeting, I would anticipate that you probably would be using GoToMeeting for your club meeting, because then you can see the participants using their web camera, etc. And you don't have that feature available to you.
The other piece, if I can jump in as well, you have to have determine what you want to have in your poll ahead of the meeting. It's not the kind of thing you want to create in the middle of a meeting, because everyone's going to be sitting there fiddling their thumbs for a while you go away and do that. So for votes that you knew were coming up, you could certainly have a poll if you were in the webinar, not the GoToMeeting, but in the webinar. But again, you'd have to be determined. So votes that come up from motions that arise as you go through a meeting, you wouldn't be able to do that. So the fallback position will be raise your hand.
Yeah. So now
And
my
again,
clock.
the time.
Yeah, my clock is showing 7:58 now, so it's coming to the close of the session. Do we have another question?
I have one more request. Can you unmute Lion Sarah Crocker?
Okay, let me try. Glenn, if you can try as well. See whoever
Yeah,
can do it.
You're the only one who was able to do it, Tim.
Really? I thought you were
Yeah.
able to do that too, Sarah.
No,
We're all Debbie Dawson.
Yeah, oh, David Dawson can do it.
but when
Oh,
I click on it,
Sarah,
it tells me that I don't have the
well,
power to do it.
Sarah, I don't see a mic
No, she doesn't
in
have a
your
mic.
entry. So are you using a cell phone to call in?
So she asked the question because she wanted to try and unmute herself. So it could be the technology. She was
No,
having a problem earlier as well. So
I see. I can see that she has the question pane open, so probably she may be typing in questions, but I don't see you having the audio, the microphone icon on, Sarah. So I don't know, you may want to check your audio connection. Okay. Any other questions?
nope, that's pretty much it.
Well, if no other question, thank you very much for everyone for your very active participation in the discussion. I hope that as we are coming to the close of the session, I hope that we have been giving you some useful information for you to host your next online meeting using the GoToMeeting facility. And as Glenn mentioned, we will be posting the guidelines and some tips and hints regarding running online meetings on the A16 website together with this recording. So give us a day or two, then this recording and those documents should be available on the A16 website. So I hope this will provide you with information to create an effective experience for your online meetings. So thank you very much for everyone for spending time with us tonight, and stay safe and stay healthy. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.